All right, we've got the knives all in there. We've got the stone set. We've got our spiral band shimmed correctly to the knives. Now what we're doing is we're taking out the now that bar helps the stone sensor, stone detector work. So we're taking that out and we're putting in the corn saver panels. So we have this panel here that goes in underneath the feed rolls from the front, and then this one comes in at the back side, just in underneath that bottom feed roll. So this is all this bracket is here. It's a little different than what the 8700 had. The 8700 had just a flat bar. This wasn't notched like that, and I got this piece here we've got to bend back. So we'll put that in our chopper box and put our other pieces in there. All right, so we've got the corn saver panels on there, and this is now ready to be closed up. And we can start putting the, getting it ready for the kernel processor. So that's what's in this box right over here. Running the stone across these knives, and then we'll go ahead and square up the shear bar after the sharpening cycle goes through. And what this is doing is just correcting the knives with each other, selecting one or two that are higher than the others, and it will correct them by sharpening them. We'll get that process done, and then we'll start on in the kernel process. Alright, we've got everything done up here on the front end, and now what we're doing is we're getting things ready to be able to put the kernel processor in. Now this processor goes in the same way that our other one goes in on the other chopper. However, this one here requires a couple extra steps, being that we are putting in the 11-inch processor. We have to remove the rear blower panel, and we have to take out a couple of the liner pieces that are in on the side of the blower itself here. So we're going to kind of cheat, and we're going to use the winch to be able to pick this blower panel out that is on the back side of this blower here. Oh, where are we? Alright, so we have our blower panels removed, and then what we have to do is we have to pull, there's a couple of liners on either side of the blower housing. We've got to remove those and put new liners in that are a little narrower or something. I don't really know what they're going to look like until we get them in there. So we've got the blower panels removed. Then they wanted us to, per directions, they wanted us to remove the grass chute. So we've got the grass chute unbolted and it's laying down in there. We're going to pull it out through the service door area. There's just 4 M8 bolts that hold that in. And that is laying down in the area where the kernel processor is. So it's laying right here. So we'll go ahead and pull that out, and then we'll get this out of there. And apparently we're supposed to use rubber strips. I don't know, we're supposed to bolt them back on there somehow. I don't know. Can't be though. No, we're not going to be doing that. Maybe there's another one on the back side or something. Or maybe they're just talking about the one that's on the wear strip here or something. I don't know. But we'll go ahead and get this out of there. And then that's what that looks like. We've got to scrape all this stuff off here. So we have to scrape all this stuff off here. There's a wear panel here with like a plastic or a rubber piece in behind it. And then there's new ones that we put on. We'll save these and they'll go back in when we take the kernel processor out. There's something different about the new ones. Maybe there's not. I don't know what's different. But we'll clean this area up here and get things ready to go back in. These blower paddles ain't in the best shape, but they should be all right for corn. So we'll go ahead and get things cleaned up and get this stuff out of there. All right, we have the blower panels removed. Obviously they're the dirty ones, and then here is the difference here. So it's just this bottom 5/8 of an inch or so that is going to be in the way of that kernel processor. And you don't want to just cut these ones off, because if you do that, then you're going to have to replace them anyway. So you might as well have the right one. But if you guys have a chopper that doesn't only do corn, I guess you cut them off. Cut that bottom lip off right there. And the rest of it, yeah. So we'll get these bolted in there, and then we can get the processor. We'll flip the chopper around here, get the processor up off of that pallet, and then we'll guide her into the unit. So let's get these in there, and we'll show you what it looks like. All right, we have our liners in that they want in there so that this 11-inch kernel processor can go in. Now we'll go ahead and put the blower panels in. Put the blower panels back on there. We need to remove this blower support here. Now we could turn the chopper around and put the kernel processor in. It should pivot right here though. And that's gotta. It's gotta like, come this way. You just gotta watch that panel. I don't know, maybe open that panel up. If I don't know if that goes up high enough where we won't touch it. Yeah, that'll work. So this here. Alright, so that's, it's so heavy that I wasn't able to get it to pivot here. So it stopped pivoting there. And I just gotta, it just makes sure that fucking cable doesn't fall and it just breaks you right down the. Yeah, I got my leg. I just trying to protect the radiator or the fan. So let me go. Let me try to collapse this a little more. Alright, that's what it was doing. It wasn't. It wasn't. Alright, let me see here. I gotta try to collapse this more that way. Alright, so we got somebody go down a little. Or I don't know, maybe, you know what? We gotta take this panel off. Yeah. Grab that cordless impact. It should be studs.
Where is it?
It's on that part to the left.
Milwaukee one.
What is there? There's a knot right here, right? That went easy. And then the other one, we had to twice as much to put the other one in. Every year I forget about that. So much torque on this joint right there.
Usually they don't come around.
So,
But they don't read the instructions.
there you go. Well, is it lunchtime yet?
125.
Alright.
We didn't do about those whole things.
Let's use the back for now there.
And aim for a little bit, like doing off smaller and smaller to open.
We might a little bit longer.
How long before you guys are done with that crane?
It's in, we just bolt and
We're pretty well done with it.
Okay.
I just left this set up in case we need to adjust stuff.
Okay.
We don't have all the bolts in yet.
Alright, so we've got the kernel processor in there. We kind of screwed up a little bit. Once we put these wear panels on there, we put the blower panels back on. I know I probably got a ton of you screaming and yelling and whatever, say, hey, you can't do that. Well, we found out the hard way. Put the kernel processor in there and it wouldn't rotate. I'm like, why won't it rotate? I said, well, it's hitting on something. Went back and forth, yep. It was hitting the bottom of the blower panel right here. That round part of the kernel processor was rubbing on it. And that's why it needs to have the shorter wear plate here, because this wear plate would come down another 5/8 of an inch or so, and it would be down into that area there. So we've got the belt on. That goes on a lot easier if you remove that panel by that right hand tire. So now we're going to put our blower panels back on. So had I read the directions entirely, I just figured that the steps were a little goofed up and whatever. But no, them steps have to be done properly. So if we smoke a belt on this kernel processor, in order to roll the processor up and out, we'll have to take the blower panels off in order to get the kernel processor up in the air, because this belt will go on a lot easier if the kernel processor is up, well, basically out of the machine. So yeah, I know, probably gonna get some of you professionals that say you can get it in there. Well, you can fight it. I could probably put it in just as fast as you if you take everything apart. So we'll go ahead and get this plugged in, the panels on, lube line hooked up, and then we'll have everything done in here. Alright, so we've got this kernel processor all in place. We had to learn the hard way that you need to have them blower panels out before you put this one in. So we've got our lube line hooked up. The original kernel processor that came on the 8700 chopper, that one had a grease line that went to it, but these bearings on this shear processor are lubed with oil, and there's an oil reservoir right there on the side of the chopper. So we're going to get things closed up here, and we're going to start on the other one, and then we'll come back to this one and put the pipe on this one and the other one at the same time.